There is an uncomfortable truth you need to accept right now. No one is going to put your needs before their own. You are waiting for permission. You are waiting for the world to pause and finally acknowledge how much you have sacrificed, how tired you are, and how much you deserve a break. But let's be brutally honest. That moment is never coming. You have spent your life putting everyone else's needs above your own, hoping that your martyrdom would be rewarded with love or respect. But all it has earned you is burnout and invisibility. There is no savior on the horizon. The cavalry is not coming. The only person who can pull you out of this hole of exhaustion is you. It is time to accept the uncomfortable truth that no one is coming to save you, and that is the most liberating realization you will ever have. You move through life under the false assumption that your partner, your boss, or your friends view your well-being as their priority. You believe that if you just give enough of yourself, they will eventually return the favor and take care of you. But they won't. This isn't because they are evil. It is because they are human. They are consumed by their own survival, their own battles, and their own desires. By placing the responsibility of your happiness in their hands, you are setting yourself up for a lifetime of resentment. You are handing the keys of your life to people who are too busy driving their own cars to notice you are crashing. Biologically, we crave the safety of the tribe, believing that the group will protect the individual. But in the modern world, this instinct has become a trap. When you wait for a savior, you adopt the psychology of a victim. You become passive, waiting for external circumstances to align before you allow yourself to feel good. This dependency creates a fragile existence where your peace is dictated by the moods and whims of others. History is filled with people who waited for a rescue that never arrived, fading into obscurity because they refused to pick up the sword and fight for themselves. Believing someone else will secure your peace is the perfect recipe for abandonment. The moment you accept that you are the solitary architect of your life, the heavy weight of expectation vanishes. This is not a depressing truth. It is the ultimate freedom. When you realize that no one is coming, you stop looking at the horizon and start looking at your own hands. You realize that you have the power to save yourself right now. You stop begging for scraps of attention and start building your own banquet. This is the shift from being a passenger in your own life to becoming the driver. You are alone in this, and that is exactly why you are powerful. You have been conditioned to believe that your value is tied to your accessibility. You answer every call, reply to every text instantly, and say yes to every request because you are terrified of being perceived as difficult or uncaring. The result is that your life has become an open territory where anyone can walk in, take what they need, and leave you with the mess. You have no walls, only bridges, and your peace is constantly invaded by the emergencies and demands of others. This infinite availability is not a virtue. It is a lack of self-respect. When you are always available to everyone, you are never available to yourself. Historically, a fortress without walls was quickly conquered. A leader who could not secure their borders was not respected. They were overthrown. In the modern world, your attention and energy are your most valuable resources, yet you give them away for free to anyone who asks. By failing to set boundaries, you are teaching people that your time is worth less than theirs. You are training them to interrupt you, to use you, and to disregard your needs because you have never given them a reason to stop. This is a betrayal of your own sovereignty. You must begin to build walls. A no at the right time is not an act of hostility. It is a radical act of self-preservation. You need to become comfortable with being unavailable. Turn off your phone, close your door, and delay your responses. When you start protecting your space, you will find that the people who truly respect you will adjust, while the parasites who were only there to feed off your energy will fall away. This filtering process is necessary. Reclaiming your territory means understanding that your time belongs to you, and access to it is a privilege you grant, not a right they possess. Your fear of disappointing others has built a cage around your potential. You have spent years contorting yourself into shapes that please your parents, your friends, or your society, terrified that if you show your true self, they will reject you. You say yes when your soul screams no, accepting burdens that aren't yours just to maintain the illusion of being the good one. This constant performance is exhausting and hollow. You are trading your authenticity for a cheap form of approval that doesn't even fill the void inside you. The need for external validation is a primitive survival mechanism gone wrong. In the tribe, disappointing the group could mean exile and death, but today this instinct keeps you trapped in a life of mediocrity. The most successful and fulfilled individuals in history were often those who were willing to be misunderstood or disliked in service of a higher mission. By avoiding disappointment, you are avoiding your own life. You are letting the expectations of others dictate your reality, becoming a prisoner in a jail cell where the door is unlocked. But you are too afraid to walk out. You must master the art of strategic disappointment. Force yourself to be uncomfortable. Understand that you cannot be true to yourself and please everyone at the same time. Disappointing others is often the only way to avoid disappointing yourself. When you stop trying to manage everyone else's emotions, you reclaim the energy you need to build your own path. Let them be upset. Let them misunderstand you. Their reaction is their responsibility, not yours. True freedom begins the moment you decide that your own respect is more valuable than their applause. You have been brainwashed by a culture that applauds your exhaustion as if it were a badge of honor. You walk around tired, bragging about how little you sleep and how crazy your schedule is, believing that this self-inflicted torture proves your worth. You are trapped in the delusion that stopping is a sign of weakness, so you push your body and mind beyond their breaking points, convinced that if you just grind harder, you will eventually earn the right to rest. But this is a lie. Strength is not about enduring pain until you snap. That is simply self-abandonment disguised as ambition. You are not a machine, and even machines destroy themselves without maintenance. Biologically, your refusal to stop is a stress response that keeps you in a constant state of fight or flight, slowly eroding your cognitive function and emotional stability. By treating rest as a prize you have to earn through suffering, you are actively sabotaging your own performance. The hustle narrative tells you that sleep is for the weak, but history shows that the most effective strategists were those who mastered the management of their energy, not just their time. When you refuse to pause, you are not being productive. You are being inefficient, running on fumes and making mistakes that will cost you double the time to fix later. You must reframe rest immediately. It is not a reward. It is a discipline you must practice with the same intensity as your work. Force yourself to disconnect. Turn off the phone, cancel the plan, and stare at the ceiling if you have to. This is tactical. If you do not voluntarily decide to stop and recharge today, your biology will make that decision for you tomorrow in the form of a crisis, an illness, or a total collapse. True power is knowing when to retreat to sharpen the blade. Stop apologizing for your recovery. You are currently investing your soul into a job, a friendship, or a relationship where you are visibly not valued, and you know it. You feel the indifference and the lack of reciprocity, yet you stay, making noise, arguing, and trying to explain your worth to people who simply do not care. You think that if you just scream loud enough or explain your pain clearly enough, they will finally get it, but they won't. Staying in a place where you have to beg for basic recognition is not loyalty. It is a profound lack of self-respect. You are fighting a war for a territory that rejected you long ago. The human ego wants the last word. It wants the dramatic exit, the slamming door, or the vindictive speech that proves you were right. But this desire for closure is a trap. It keeps you engaged with the very source of your pain. When you make a scene, you are still giving them your energy. You are showing them that they still have the power to upset you. Real power is not found in the loudness of your exit, but in the absolute silence of your absence. The moment you stop insisting is the moment you regain your dignity. Learn the art of the silent departure. You do not need to announce your exit. You just need to leave. Withdraw your attention, your time, and your effort without explanation. Stop watering dead plants and wondering why nothing blooms. When you walk away in silence, you create a vacuum that speaks louder than any argument ever could. This is the ultimate power move, removing your access from people who abused it. Let them wonder where you went. You are too busy building a life where you don't have to fight to be seen. Your mind is a space that requires constant, aggressive vigilance, yet you treat it like a public park where any vagrant thought can set up a tent and live, rent-free. You accept every anxious whisper, every recycled criticism, and every scenario of failure, as if it were an absolute truth. You are drowning in inherited trash, old fears from your parents, toxic narratives from society, and limits that were placed on you before you were old enough to reject them. You replay these scripts on autopilot, allowing them to dictate your emotional state without ever stopping to ask if they are even yours. You have become a passive observer of your own mental decay, letting the weeds of insecurity choke out any possibility of growth. The human brain is not designed for happiness. It is designed for survival, which means it naturally prioritizes threats and negativity. If you do not actively guard the gates of your perception, your mind will default to a state of siege. By believing every thought that passes through your head, you are handing the steering wheel of your life to a terrified passenger. This lack of mental discipline turns you into a puppet of your own worst impulses. You are reacting to stories you tell yourself, stories that are often lies designed to keep you small and safe in a world that no longer exists. You must become the ruthless sentry of your own skull. Stand guard at the door of your consciousness and interrogate every thought that tries to enter. Ask it, does this thought help me or sink me? Is this a verifiable fact or just a story I am terrified might be true? This is not about positive thinking or lying to yourself about how great everything is. It is about thinking clearly. You have the authority to evict ideas that do not serve your mission. Be the sentry who decides which seeds get watered and which ones get burned. The moment you take control of the narrative, you stop being a victim of your mind and start being its master. You are terrified of silence. You cannot sit in a room for 5 minutes without reaching for your phone, turning on the TV, or calling a friend to fill the void. You are running from yourself, filling every second with noise and empty plans because the prospect of being alone with your own thoughts paralyzes you. You use social media and constant busyness as a drug to numb the discomfort of your own company. This avoidance is a weakness that makes you dependent on the world for your stability. You are so afraid of what you might hear in the quiet that you have deafened yourself with the static of everyone else's lives. Solitude is not a punishment for the lonely. It is the gymnasium of the soul. Historically, the most powerful individuals, the creators, the leaders, the visionaries, were those who forged their character in the fires of isolation. It is only in the absence of external noise that you can hear your own voice clearly. When you cannot be alone, you are signaling that you are not enough for yourself. This neediness bleeds into your relationships, making you clingy and desperate for validation. If you cannot stand to be with yourself, why should anyone else want to be? Force yourself to stay still. Turn off the noise and sit with the discomfort. At first, it will be agonizing. Your demons, your fears, and your avoided truths will all rush to the surface. Do not run. Stay there and look them in the eye. This is the necessary friction of growth. Learning to be alone is the process of learning to be self-sufficient. When you no longer need the distraction of the crowd to feel okay, you become dangerous in the best way possible. You become unbreakable because your foundation is built on the one person who will never leave you, yourself. Speaker, Chapter 8. The Zero Excuses Protocol. Speaker. You are paralyzed by the illusion of the perfect moment. You tell yourself that you will start that project, leave that toxic situation, or build your body when you have more time, more money, or more energy. But let's call this what it is. A lie you tell yourself to feel safe in your stagnation. You are using preparation as a sophisticated form of procrastination. You read about doing the work instead of doing the work. You plan endlessly because planning feels like progress, but it is just motion without action. You are negotiating with your own potential, hoping that if you wait long enough, the fear of starting will magically disappear. It won't. This habit of waiting is a dream killer. Historically, the difference between the great and the obscure was never about resources. It was about the audacity to act before they were ready. When you use "I don't have time" as an excuse, you are actually saying this is not a priority. You are choosing comfort over the friction of growth. By waiting for the stars to align, you are handing your destiny over to luck. You are letting your dreams rot on the shelf, while you wait for a permission slip from the universe that does not exist. Prioritizing yourself means prioritizing your ambition over your excuses. You must sign a zero excuses contract with yourself right now. Self-respect is not an abstract concept. It is tangible action. If you want to write, do not buy a new notebook. Write one terrible sentence today. If you want to start a business, do not design a logo. Send one email. You need to understand that movement generates momentum, not the other way around. Stop thinking and start moving. Take one step, however tiny, and force reality to react to you. Stop negotiating. The only perfect moment to start was yesterday. The second best is right now. Your suffering is rooted in your desperate need to control the uncontrollable. You walk through life with a rigid script in your head of how people should behave, how your career should unfold, and how the world should unfold. Treat you. When reality inevitably deviates from your script, when people are rude, plans fail, or tragedy strikes, you crumble. You waste an immense amount of energy fighting against the way things are, wishing they were different. This resistance is the source of your anxiety. You are trying to tame a chaotic ocean with a teaspoon, and then you wonder why you are drowning in frustration. You must accept that reality is chaotic and fundamentally unpredictable. Sometimes you will do everything right and still fail. Sometimes you will be kind and still be betrayed. Trying to force the world to bend to your will is a strategy for madness. True power is not found in tightening your grip on external events, but in completely letting go of the need to manipulate them. When you realize that the external world is not under your command, you stop being a tyrant to your own peace. Accepting what you cannot change is not an act of surrender. It is the ultimate strategic maneuver. The only thing you truly own is your response. Drop the fight against the inevitable and focus all your firepower on your own attitude. This is the shift from being a victim of circumstance to being a master of your fate. You cannot control the storm, but you can control the ship. When you stop trying to fix the world and start mastering your reaction to it, you become untouchable. Let people be who they are. Let events unfold. Your power lies in your ability to remain standing, calm and collected, no matter what lands at your feet. The summary is brutal but necessary. No one will ever come to give you the place that you do not first give to yourself. If you treat yourself like an option, the world will treat you like an option. You must understand that your life is your absolute responsibility, and your peace of mind is the most important project you will ever undertake. You now possess the three most powerful weapons to reclaim your existence: the discipline to set boundaries without guilt, the courage to disappoint those who drain you, and the wisdom to let go of the things you cannot control. Burn this phrase into your mind. You are not here to fulfill everyone else's expectations. You are not a vessel for their needs or a sponge for their emotions. You are here to fulfill the potential of the only person to whom you owe absolutely everything: yourself. The days of apologizing for your strength are over. It is time to stop being a ghost in your own story and start living as the sovereign authority of your own reality. If this message has impacted you, do not let it fade. Subscribe and hit the bell to join the few who are waking up. But do not just watch. Act. Make a public commitment to your new standard right now. Go to the comments and write, "I am my priority." Declare it, feel the weight of it, and start acting accordingly today.